Kicking off week 9 of the Frostburg Sports Awards, and I have Kylie Heyne back for her second week in a row after volleyball picked up 2 out of 3 matches in the past week. Coach, I just want to get your thoughts on your team's overall performance.
I think that this past week, so the AB Charleston West Virginia State week was a really big week for us, and we knew that going into it, and super impressed with how the team performed.
So, we talked last week about coming into this week, and it's 3 matches where they're all pretty big conference matches, facing a couple teams from the South Division, which is a very tough division, at least at the top there. And you mentioned that your team was going to take it one step at a time, that we're going to look each match as we go, and obviously made it a little bit more complicated between, Charleston, and then the next day you're right back at home against West Virginia State. But we'll talk about the first game against Alderson Broaddus, a game in which you guys took the first couple sets pretty easily. Third set, AB comes back and they show some fight. They win that one. And the fourth set had a big lead, and then they came back again, but you guys were able to finish it off.
I think that just kind of speaks to the growth that the team has had throughout the season. Early on in the season, if a team got a little bit of a lead on us, we just couldn't dig ourselves out of that hole. And then, as we progressed into a little bit of conference play, we ended up being able to come back from those holes and go point for point. And then we were actually the team that was able to create the holes. So I think that just one of the things we've talked about with the team so often is that we really got to believe that whatever situation that we're in, we really can come back from, or we can finish. So I think really that kind of mentality has really helped push us through some of those tougher situation matches. I think volleyball honestly comes down to so much of a mental game. Really any given team can win any day, just as long as you're mentally strong throughout the process.
It made me think of back in the spring when we played AB. We had the doubleheader at home, and it was a pair of 3-2 losses back to back. And when I was watching the stream, it felt like a different story this time, where last time we got up in those leads, but we let them slip away, and AB were able to take the sets. And this year, it was, AB started their comeback, and, the players were like, all right, we cannot let this one slip away. We are going to win this match. And that's sort of the difference between this team and their year of growth that they've had.
Yeah, exactly. I would 100% agree. And we make sure to touch on that as often as we can, just to make sure that we remember, where we started, as far as, both coaching staff, me and Kendall getting here, so where we were last year to where we are now, instead of getting so focused on the things that are going wrong per se. Right now, it's think about where we've come from, think about that growth. So I think that's kind of an exciting thing for sure.
And so on Friday, back at home and playing against Charleston, who's one of the top 3 teams in the South Division, we know they're a pretty good team coming in, and then they take the first set off of you guys. What's the message to the team after that first set, where they played better than us in the first set and they came out with a win? How do we fight back, and what do you say to the team to get them motivated back, to get back into the match?
I think it comes back, how we take each opponent at a time, each match, each set at a time, and it's hey, we did all right. First set, that's okay. This is why it's best of 5. We get a fresh start right now. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, there's been plenty of times in my coaching career where we go through a set and it's just you know what, guys, let's just restart. Let's just restart this one. But I think that, that was our first time being able to see Charleston since, this year. I mean, out of division last year, we didn't get to play out of division teams. And then also just my history with Charleston, they have a new coach. They have many new players, so I didn't know them. I don't know the history of them. So I think seeing a team for the first time is a little hard. But I think that's honestly what the first set was. It was just okay, who is this team? Let's figure them out. We saw them on film. How are they in person? And they were very emotional. They were a very energy-driven team. So once you take that, once you figure out how to suck that away from a team, it's just oh, so here are the mistakes. Here's where we can kind of just keep rolling through them. And one of the things that our girls have really been able to figure out is play this cool, calm, collected volleyball, and being able to figure kind of swim their way through chaos. So I think that once we see that, it's a really great feeling on the sideline. It's just ooh, not much can stop us now. So it makes it fun.
in those next couple of sets, both of them 24 or 26 to 24 victories in set 2 and 3. Where it's been, early in the season, it seemed like it was a theme with you guys where you were going to take everything into extra points to win those 2 sets and to take that 2-1 lead. When I was, there and statting in and watching it, it felt like that energy from being able to get over that hump of finally taking those extra point sets really led you guys into that last set where you just came out kind of on fire and took the early big lead and was able to set you through the rest of the match to be able to win it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, I'm getting them all mixed up. I think, it was Charleston. It was the Charleston 4th set when AJ was serving and it was like a 7-1 lead or something like that. And that is just, as a team, like I know that they kind of came back throughout the middle of that set too, but to have that kind of beginning in the 4th set, it's just kind of like I said, like sucking the energy out of Charleston for sure. But like to give them credit too, like they played against what team was it? It was a team that we were scouting in film and everything, and they were down by 7 points and ended up coming back and winning. So I know in one of the timeouts that Charleston called, I said to the team, I was like, we cannot let up because this team has a history of being able to pull themselves out of this kind of hole, just like we do. So like I think also in the mindset of our team, it's just like, hey, we got ourselves in this position. We know what it's like. We got to keep going. So it just makes for a fun match too.
In that match, one player that really caught my eye that came off the bench and has been playing pretty well over the last week was Sydney Hammond, who plays on the opposite side of usually Beverly or Jackie. And she came up with just really timely kills and a couple of big blocks in that moment. Her and Raven Pratt both towards the end, especially defensively, shut them down and didn't let them come back into that one. And it was really good to see those two who haven't necessarily gotten the accolades or the applause that some of the other players have gotten, but in the big moments, it was them that stepped up.
Yeah, so one of the things that we actually did in film the other day, and this is the cool part of volleyball and how much it is a team sport. So you do see the people that get the stats for the digs or the kills or the assists or the blocks, whatever it is. But there's moments in volleyball that kind of set you up for that. And Sid was one of the people that we pointed out. Like she made this really... it was like an out-of-system ball for us. She made a controlled swing to a deep corner, put the other team in the very awkward position. We get this nice, easy free ball, and it sets Bev up for a beautiful swing, which, of course, we need to get a good pass, a good set, a nice swing on our side. But because of the ball that Sid was able to, like, awkwardly place, like, and there's no stat for that. There's no, like, way to set up an out-of-system ball, Sid, tally mark, or whatever it is. But like those moments are so big, or like a really nice, easy touch on a block where it's not a stuff block. You're not getting a block for that, but it's almost like giving our team a free ball. So those things, I think that you don't get the accolades for, but when you rewatch things, it's like, way to go. Like you're doing a really nice job.
It takes a lot, and we have the benefit of being able to stat and be able to see up front where you see the slides and you see the motion of how the team moves without just looking at the box score, and it tells a different story. And then, so Saturday against West Virginia State, one of the best teams in the conference, have already taken their match off of Wheeling this year and only have one loss, only 3 losses on the season. But a very well put together team that, at least for the first couple of sets, we really were able to compete against. And it was just, their talent level kind of took them over the top in that match. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, we gave them the match. It was, not to be rude or anything, but it's just the better team won in that scenario.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I think that's one of the things, like, as a coach and as a player, you got to respect good talent. Like, you got to respect going into a match and playing a good team that just beats you. It's not like we just made errors and they didn't have to earn any of their points. Like, their 2 outsides were fantastic. Like, super smart, very good, like, good quality volleyball. And it's not like we're making silly errors that like net calls or whatever it is. It's just like they're getting kills, they're earning their points, and like you got to respect that. And at the end of that match, going into the locker room and saying like, hey, that's okay, it happens, we got beat by a good team, we should get beat by good teams, that should be acceptable. But now we know, like, when our goal is to win a conference championship, like, that's who we're gonna have to compete with, and we got to be able to compete with it. So I think just moving forward, it's exciting to see like, okay, this is a team that we need to be able to beat. How did we do? We could have done better, and this is what we're just going to continue to build on.
Going into this week now, against Wheeling on Tuesday, a road game there, and then back at home on Friday against West Liberty. Two teams that, they are sort of the top of our division, two very talented teams, and we talked about last week again of being able to prepare for upcoming matches and looking one at a time. But now we get towards the end of the season and sort of getting ourselves into the playoff mix in a way of trying to get into that top 4 spot, get the record there. Is that now something that weighs on your mind and the players' mind? Or you just think like we just play our volleyball, we get ourselves set, and we don't worry about looking ahead to potential playoffs?
I think that looking ahead doesn't, like, I'm not gonna lie, yes, I've looked ahead, I've done the figuring of like what needs to happen. Kendall and I have looked at it, but as a team we really haven't talked about it because I don't see the value in it right away, because like every single match we should be going in with the focus of like, we need to terminate this match, and then after we do our job here we can focus on our next job. And I think that Wheeling, great team, historically a great team. We played them here earlier in the season and it was a really close match again, and I think that that's just exciting. And then the West Liberty match, we played them away and it was once again super close, but we didn't necessarily I think going into West Liberty on Friday, we're just going to have a little bit of a different mindset, because I think we were a little like, oh, so this is what coach was talking about scouting report wise, and now we're ready for that. But like, I don't think it's fine for me and Kendall to like be figuring out playoffs and getting into the conference tournament and everything, but I don't think that's something that the team needs to stress about, because it's like we work hard in practice on Monday, we're going to take on Wheeling, and then we'll go about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after that.
All right, well, Coach, I want to thank you for coming on today and for your second week in a row here, Coach of the Week. We want to congratulate you on both of the wins and learning, some things in the loss as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, well, stay tuned. Next up, we'll have Heidi Van Dyk from field hockey, as they just wrapped up their season and picked up a big win on Saturday. Thank you for watching, and go Bobcats. Back here on the Frostburg Sports Awards, and I have Heidi Van Dyk from field hockey, who is our female athlete of the week. She scored 2 goals and had an assist in a big win over Queens on Saturday. Heidi, I just want to get your overall thoughts for your performance.
I think I performed really well, but it wasn't just me. I think our whole team just had an amazing game, and that's why we were able to pull off that win. Every single player just played so well, and we played so well as a team, so I think that's why we did so good.
I wanted to talk about you guys having, a pretty long trip down there into the Carolinas, first on Saturday in North Carolina against Queens, and then Sunday down in South Carolina against Coker, and then coming all the way back up, yesterday of, just the experience that you guys had in traveling down there and experiencing, a different area and opposed to Frostburg, kind of the exact opposite of the Carolinas.
I think the drive was definitely not that fun. It was pretty long on a bus, but I think it does a lot for the team as well. Well, one, we get to play teams that we don't get to play in this area, which is obviously beneficial. But we also get to bond a lot. We spend a lot of time in hotels together. We're together 24/7, and it just allows us to become a better team based on we can work together now because we trust each other more, and just simple things like that.
And now, in that Queens game, we took the early lead, got up 1-0, and then they came back to tie it 1-1. But just 50 seconds after they tied the game, you had the assist to Zoe, who was able to finish. So, getting that goal and cutting back where, there's been times this season where we get a big goal and we just can't add on to that. But getting that assist to go back up, it was really beneficial for us and being able to take a little bit more control in that game.
Yeah, we do sometimes tend to fall a little bit if the other team scores on us, but once again, in this game, we were just all doing so well that they scored, tied it up, and we just said we're not letting up on this one. We're going to keep going, and we're going to push through because we want this.
And then, right after that, you scored your 2 goals in pretty quick succession. Being the leading scorer on the team this year, a lot of the offense will go through and you just finding the right spots at the right times and being able to get the shots in. and scoring those 2 goals to go up big kind of going into the half. Going into the locker room, what was the mentality? How are you feeling of, I've just scored the 2 goals, but we still have a job to do in a way?
Yes, that was how I felt, but when I'm on the field, I just 100% trust my teammates to put the ball where we need it. And I think that once again goes off of all the traveling that we have to do, that we just trust each other so much that we are there when we need each other. And so I feel like even in this situation where I did score 2 goals, it wasn't just me, it was my whole team that helped us get to that point, and even the other girls that scored so many goals during that game as well.
Talking about a couple of your teammates and some that I've watched in some of your games that you formed sort of partnerships with. Taylor Hackett, who's been in the program for a number of years now, Taylor Henderson, who you have a pretty good bond with, and Zoe, who we just mentioned, and that you guys are all kind of the forwards and playing those forward lines, and then having players come off the bench and helping as well. What are those partnerships like in playing with those different players where they all have their different styles?
I think the different styles is what makes our team so unique, I guess you could say, because we all have different techniques, different things that make us the players that we are, but they just come together in the end to make us a better team. And we really just build off of each other. We know each other so well that I know that a ball is going to come across and I need to be here for it. So we know how to work with each other because we need to build off of those techniques that make us different.
Speaking about more teammates, and looking at the team overall, where it's still a lot of young players, a lot of sophomores from last year, a lot of freshmen came into the program, and losing some key seniors from last year where they brought a lot of leadership. Now coming into this year, new leadership has stepped up. Some players have taken control, but when you watch you guys, it still feels like a young team. But as the season has gone on, there's been more growth. You guys have learned more of okay, against especially some of the PSAC teams, this is the top of Division II field hockey. This is where we want to get to, and just learning a lot throughout the year. And is that something you would say, this year again is sort of just learning of how to play with these teams?
Oh, 100%. We've had some games where we had to learn from our mistakes, but then we've also had some games where we played teams and we saw our true potential and we saw how great we can be if we put our minds to it and we just worked with each other. So I definitely think that this year has been very good for us in the sense that we're learning a lot about ourselves and the other teams that will help us move forward and become a better team in the end.
And for you guys, with the season now just wrapped up, you get to the off season, you finally get a break from all the practices, the games, the running, the traveling. How are you preparing going into next year? Obviously, not thinking about it immediately, just trying to rest for a little bit, but in the off-season program, merging when you go into the spring season, you get some practices back in. What sort of mentality of the team where still looking for kind of that right mentality and the right patience to get the team back to sort of winning ways?
I think right now we're just taking the next few weeks that we have off just a little bit slow, have our bodies recover, have our bodies heal, just get everything back in order. But then when we start lifting again, I think we're just going to try to get stronger, get faster in order to be ready for that spring season when we get practices and some games in. And I think we're just going to take this time, learn from our mistakes, learn from everything good that happened this season as well, and just take that moving into the spring season and build off of it.
All right, Heidi, well, thank you for coming on today. Obviously, the long trip back and a bit of a getting back into classes, but we really appreciate you being here, and we want to congratulate you on this past weekend and for your season overall.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, stay tuned. Next up, we'll have Jeremiah Baxter from football. He had a really good defensive day and on special teams for football. He's our male athlete of the week, so stay tuned, and as always, go Bobcats. All right, wrapping up week 9 of the Frostburg Sports Awards, and I have Jeremiah Baxter from football. He had a great defensive performance, 3 interceptions, and then to top it off, had a block punt for a touchdown. Jeremiah, I just want to get your overall thoughts on your performance from the past weekend.
It was just time to step up, show coaches how I could really play, really. That's all.
So your first interception of the day came right at the start of the second quarter. AB was driving. It was tied 7-7. You got the pick and got us the ball back. We took the lead shortly after. What was that feeling like to get your first interception there and get the team back into a position to start winning?
First pick, dream come true. I was really excited, and I was First one to come, many more to come.
And then the second one on the very next drive, actually, AB had just gotten a huge gain down the field, and you came up with another big interception on that one to, again, put you guys back in position. Wanted to talk about some of your teammates that you've played with, Stacey Watson and Kylie Heyne, who are the starting cornerbacks, seniors on the team, a lot of leadership. And coming in as young, what have you learned from them and some of the other seniors on that defense?
They taught me a lot. They encouraged me every practice, every day, every game to step up and make it play after play. Though the second pick was a big pick as well because they were driving. They had a momentum because they were in the game. So both of those picks were big plays, and they helped us out a lot.
And then the third interception, again, AB is driving. It's a 3rd and 15. They're within field goal range. You got another interception, this time a big return on it, getting all the way back to the 50-yard line. And was it going through your mind of, hey, this is my third interception, this is something pretty special on the game? Or were you just kind of in the moment and then after the fact you realized maybe on the bus ride home, like, man, I just had 3 interceptions?
I was counting. I was paying attention to how many interceptions I had. That one, I was just in the right spot, cover 3. There was like a seam right behind me, like a fade behind me, but I played it right, played quick game, and read it, and was there for the tip ball, and was able to get a big return on it.
And we talked about Stacey and Akai, and there's a lot of competition for those cornerback roles, where you're featured, and Ibrahim Diallo is in there as well, Takai Davis. So there's a lot of competition in there where, your head coach, Blaine Fitzgerald, he likes to use the phrase that iron sharpens iron. Is that something that you guys as a cornerback group kind of take in of, we're not all going to be starters, but we all have an opportunity to show out on any given day like you did on Saturday?
Yeah, all those guys can ball. It's definitely tough. We're all fighting for a spot to play. Nothing's guaranteed. Every week, you got to go your hardest or it's going to be next man up, definitely. They all can play.
And then sort of the cherry on top of the finale, you blocked the punt and returned that for a touchdown just to top off your day, get us into an even bigger lead. We've talked with some of the other players, and Malik Morris and Carl Igwe have come up with a few block kicks this year, and you got yours. The emotion of scoring that touchdown, being able to, go celebrate with your teammates. What was all of that emotion?
So that was my first collegiate touchdown. It was very exciting. I've been recently put into block punts a couple weeks before, and I didn't come up with a block. So finally getting the block, showing the coaches I can do it, and it was big, and I scored off of it. So
going into this week against West Virginia Wesleyan back at home for you guys, and you talked a couple times about showing what you can do and showing the coaches and trying to just get that play time. But coming into this week, what's your preparation going to be like? How are you going to stay motivated and come off of this week where it's getting accolades and a lot of teammates congratulating you, but being able to focus on the game at hand?
Just staying humble, going harder each week, each practice, and move on day by day and going to the next game.
All right, well, Jeremiah, thank you for coming on today. Obviously, you guys have a class schedule, busy practices and games coming up, but we really appreciate your time here, and congratulations once again on your career day.
Thank you.
All right, well, that wraps up this week. Stay tuned as we'll be back next week with a fresh new set of athletes and a coach, so thank you for watching.